Do you ever ask questions like, is God really in control? Does God really care? Because it can feel sometimes like either he's powerless to help or he's powerful, but he doesn't really care. You know, Job in the Old Testament was living the dream life. You could call it the PCV, the pre-COVID virus kind of life. He was wealthy, his family was healthy, he had scads of livestock, his business was booming. And within a matter of days, he lost all his sheep, lost all his goats and livestock and servants, and he lost his business. In those days, when you think about it, there was no insurance companies, no government assistance programs, no small business loans to help him rebuild. Then his health was attacked. And when he thought it couldn't get any worse, he gets word from a servant that says, Job, you know, a great storm surfaced, and all your children were feasting at your oldest son's house. And I hate to break it to you, but they're all dead. Job lost everything. You should read the first 2 chapters of Job. The end of Job chapter 2, it says that he tore his robes and he fell to the ground. And get this, it says he worshiped God. He said, I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken away. But praise be to the name of the Lord. That is unbelievable. In this moment of horrific loss and grief and tragedy, he still worships God. He still puts his faith and trust in God. He begins to question God. God, do you really care? I mean, God, are you really in control? Don't you see what's happening? Because it doesn't feel like it at all right now. Friends, in 2020, we have been forced to realize that we are more vulnerable, more fragile than we would ever want to admit. And Job asks God some questions, but I think he's asking these questions not just for himself. I think he's asking them for you. God, do you really care about the cancer, about the job loss, about the unemployment, about the social instability, the loneliness and feeling disconnected? Could you please just explain yourself to me? Is this pandemic just a blip on your heavenly radar? And in Job 38, God has had enough of all of Job's questions, and God speaks to Job. And he doesn't say, okay, Job, you've got some questions, so let's just sit down together and we'll work through them all, one at a time. He asks Job some questions, good questions for us to wrestle with as well. God says, who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Who is this that pretends to know what they don't know? Who is this that thinks they understand what they can't possibly understand? He says, Job, brace yourself like a man, because I will question you and you will answer me. And God begins a series of questions like, Job, were you there when I laid the foundation of the earth? Because it's funny, I don't remember seeing you. Job, did you determine how much water the oceans would hold? Did you set the time when the sun would rise? Have you comprehended the vastness of the earth? Job, do you know how many snowflakes are scheduled to fall on the earth? And God asks a bunch of questions about the details of the universe. And here's what becomes clear. God knows what we don't. God understands what we can't. And as we look at the universe and all the details and the intricacies of the universe that we live in, they do not portray a God as being apathetic or indifferent or out of control. Instead, they reveal a God who is involved, preventing this planet from burning up or from spinning out of orbit, and he is very much in control. I find it incredibly helpful and so much comfort in this. We worship a God that is so much bigger than we are. He sees what we can't. He knows what we don't. There's something very comforting in worshiping a God that big. You know, when Jesus was on the cross, it felt like God had lost control of everything. His own son was being beaten, tortured, crucified, and nailed to a cross. And it seems like that was all the evidence you would ever need that God was not in control. And the disciples and Mary just couldn't quite understand as they watched through tear-filled eyes. And I think sometimes God is at work most when we have tear-filled eyes sometimes. But in fact, as God's Son hung on a cross, in fact, a very clear message was being sent out that He's in complete control. His very purpose and plan is unfolding exactly in the moment that seems most out of control. Friends, I want you to know that He knows. He sees what you and I can't. He understands what you don't. And that means we can put our trust in Him, even when things don't make sense. And I encourage you to join me in praying today. God, I need you. I can't do this on my own. I'm dependent on you. I need your help. Thank you, God, that you are at work, even when we can't feel it or see it.